Welcome back to Analytical Statecraft. Today is Sunday, March 8, 2026, and we are moving past the headlines to analyze a fundamental transformation in American governance. While the media focuses on the smoke over Tehran following the assassination of the supreme leader, the real epic fury is happening in the legal filings between the West Wing and a skeptical Supreme Court. We are examining the Donroe Doctrine, the administration's fusion of the 19th century Monroe Doctrine with 21st century America First militancy, and the legal bridge being built to justify unilateral strikes without a congressional declaration of war. The core of the legal debate rests on the 2001 Authorization for Use of Military Force, AUMF. For 25 years, this document has been stretched, but never like this. By labeling the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and Mexican cartels as a singular transnational terrorist enterprise, the administration is attempting to create a permanent legal status for Operation Epic Fury. They are arguing that the president's Article 2 powers allow for preemptive strikes on any entity that threatens the economic security of the United States. This is a radical expansion of the term national defense to include market stability. If the president can order a missile strike to protect an oil pipeline or a trade route, the very nature of American democracy has shifted from a rules-based order to what critics are calling the law of the jungle, the legal precedent, Venezuela, and the capture of Maduro. To understand March 2026, we have to look back to January. The pre-dawn raid in Caracas that resulted in the capture of Nicolas Maduro was the first proof of concept for the Donroe Doctrine. The administration did not seek a UN mandate or a congressional vote. Instead, they utilized a kinetic enforcement model, treating a sovereign head of state as a common criminal under U.S. domestic law. This set the stage for the current Shield of the Americas summit at Doral. By inviting Latin American leaders to join a counter-cartel coalition, the White House is effectively outsourcing hemispheric security to a pro-Washington bloc. But the statecraft here is deeper than just crime fighting. It is about strategic geography, the Trump corollary and strategic geography. The Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, codified in the latest national security strategy, explicitly targets the influence of malign external actors, specifically China and Russia. The administration has made it clear the Western Hemisphere is a no-go zone for rival superpowers. This explains the intense pressure on Denmark over Greenland and the bombing of drug-carrying vessels in the Caribbean. The logic is that any foothold for a rival, whether it's a Chinese-funded port or a Russian intelligence post, is a direct threat to the U.S. homeland. By militarizing the trade lanes, the administration is reclaiming a sphere of influence that many globalists thought was a relic of the 19th century. The unitary executive and the purge of the bureaucracy. Statecraft is not just about foreign policy. It is about the machinery of the state. The analytical view of the 2026 administration must include the role of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOG, and the reclassification of the federal workforce. By firing thousands of career bureaucrats and replacing them with political appointees, the president has eliminated the bureaucratic inertia that usually slows down military intervention. When the order for the Tehran strikes came down, there were no leaks from the OLC, Office of Legal Counsel. There were no anonymous dissenters in the State Department. The executive branch is now a streamlined weapon of will, operating with a speed that has left NATO and the UN in a state of paralysis. The Golden Dome as a strategic shield. We must also analyze the strategic role of the Golden Dome Missile Defense Project. This is not just a defensive system, it is a legal safeguard. By claiming that the U.S. mainland is now impenetrable to retaliatory strikes, the administration is arguing that the risk of escalation, the traditional check on military power, no longer exists. If there is no risk of a missile hitting New York or D.C., the president argues he has more freedom of action to strike abroad. This strategic immunity is the ultimate goal of the current buildup. It allows for a high-intensity, low-risk foreign policy that ignores international law because there is no one strong enough to enforce it. The checklist foreign policy and executive agreements. Notice the absence of formal treaties. Whether it's the 30-day oil waiver for India or the counter-cartel pacts in Miami, the administration is avoiding the Senate's advice and consent. These are executive agreements, handshake deals that depend entirely on the president's personal word. While this allows for rapid change, it creates what we call strategic fragility. our allies are wondering, what happens when the next president takes office? This is why we are seeing spheres of influence hardening so quickly. Nations like Japan and South Korea are being forced to pick a side and sign non-negotiable loyalty oaths to the shield of the Americas, or face the law of the jungle alone. Succession risk, the vacuum in Tehran. The most critical analytical question today is, who follows Khamenei? The Assembly of Experts in Iran is reportedly in a state of chaos, looking for a candidate who is hated by the enemy. The analytical statecraft view is that the U.S. and Israel have successfully decapitated the regime, but they have not transformed it. We are looking at a potential civil war inside a nuclear threshold state. This is the Thucydides trap in action. By moving so aggressively to prevent a future threat, the administration may have triggered a present catastrophe. If the Iranian missile stockpile falls into the hands of unregulated factions, the Golden Dome will be tested sooner than anyone planned. The petro-UN and the economic counterstrike. While the U.S. dominates the kinetic battlefield, the strategic counterstrike is happening in the currency markets. China's foreign minister, Wang Yi, recently stated that old scripts from the 19th century have no place in the 21st. The power and strategy move from Beijing is the M-Bridge platform, which is successfully bypassing the U.S. dollar for oil trades. If the analytical statecraft of the Trump administration fails to secure the dollar's reserve status, then all the golden domes in the world won't be enough to pay the interest on the national debt. We are watching a high-stakes game of financial brinkmanship that is just as dangerous as the tomahawk strikes, the unitary state, and the end of the rules-based order. Finally, we must address the law of the jungle critique. Critics like Andrea Rizzi argue that the actions of Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu are fundamentally weakening the rules-based order. From an analytical statecraft perspective, the administration's response is, the order was already dead. By bypassing the UN and the U.S. Congress, the White House is asserting that in a multipolar world, only force and commodities matter. This is the naked statecraft of the 2020s. There are no more idealists in the West Wing, only realists who believe that the only way to secure the American future is to be the biggest, most unpredictable actor in the jungle. The shield of the Americas and the China decoupling. The Donroe Summit concluded with a secret annex on technology sovereignty. Any Latin American nation participating in the shield must agree to a total ban on Chinese 6G infrastructure and safe city surveillance tech. This is the great decoupling in practice. The administration is using counter-narcotics as a Trojan horse for technological imperialism. If you want the U.S. to help you fight the cartels, you must give the U.S. control over your digital backbone. This is the 21st century version of the Panama Canal, control over the flows of data, rather than just ships. Conclusion, the state of the Republic. As of March 8, 2026, the American Republic has been replaced by a command executive. The Donroe Doctrine has been established as the law of the land. Whether it leads to a golden age of hemispheric stability or a law of the jungle global conflict remains to be seen. But the machinery is in place, the Golden Dome is active, and the president has shown that he is willing to strike anyone, anywhere, at any time, to protect the ledger. Analytical statecraft will continue to track the legal and strategic filings as the war in the Middle East enters its third week.